Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time seeing me, you are welcome. So let's just get into today's video, right? So today we're going to be speaking on trusting God even when you don't understand. I feel like sometimes when we're trusting God, we really don't allow ourselves to be human, meaning that we don't allow ourselves to feel emotions. And I've gone through this, I've had someone say to me before, "Oh, I thought you trust God, why are you upset? I thought you're trusting God, why are you crying? I thought you're trusting God, why are you frustrated? I thought you're trusting God, why are you sad?" Please do not try and invalidate my feelings. Like, that is just wrong on the highest level. Yes, let yourself feel the emotion, okay? If you're trusting God for a child, you're trusting God for a house, you're trusting God for a new job, or whatever it is, understand that the journey is not easy, especially if you've been waiting for such a long time. Allow yourself in those moments when you feel frustrated, when you feel sad, when you feel like you want to burst out and cry in the middle of an event or somewhere, anywhere. Allow yourself to feel. Psychologists actually tell us that it's good for us to express our emotion. I know this goes against a lot of cultural beliefs and stuff like that, but let's be honest, we're in 2020 and our eyes when you feel upset, when you feel sad, when you feel like you want to cry it out, because what you're basically doing is you're releasing the emotion, or you're releasing that frustration. So the third thing I want to say about when you're trusting God for something is that and I've had to learn this the hard way, and it's, you really need to understand who God is. See, when you're trusting him for something big, I'm not talking about something mediocre, I'm not talking about something small, something that you can actually just do in your own power, I'm talking about something huge, something that when you tell someone else, they are scared on your behalf. That kind of trusting God. Yes, my point here is that you need to understand who God is. See, if you don't know who God is or what he's capable of doing, it's going to be extremely hard for you to believe, or for you to even trust that he can bring the things that you want to pass, or he can even do what you're asking. So if you watch my video on how to pray, I'll try to link it somewhere up here. I mentioned in that video how one of the things I like to do when I'm praying is to just call God by his name. So I say things like Jehovah Rapha. So maybe you're trusting God for healing, right? So maybe you might just have to take that word Jehovah Rapha, and you might just have to go and do an in-depth study on what Jehovah Rapha, what he can do, what he has done in the past. What I like to do sometimes is listen to testimonies of people. You hear testimonies. Once you know how great he is and how powerful he is, I think one of my favorite names of God is the Lord of all hosts. And I used to just say it like, oh, the Lord of hosts, and then I just let it go like that. But there was a day I got the deep revelation of what that really means, what it means to be the Lord of all hosts. That means that before anybody can harm you, or before anything happens to you, he's actually don't do that, don't do this. He can command them. Another name I like to call him is Commander-in-Chief of all hosts. That's probably maybe one of my favorite names for God, is Commander-in-Chief of all hosts. It means that they stand in attention to him. When he tells them to not do something, they will not do it. They bow to him. So I think once we understand that, and trust me, I know I'm just powerful, that broke chains in my mind. It broke chains in my life. Understanding that he's the Commander-in-Chief of all hosts. Everybody bows to him. That's just true. So whatever it is, I don't know, I don't know what it is that you're trusting God for, whatever it's a job, a relocation, a spouse, whatever it is, just try and understand who you are asking, who you are talking to, who you are praying to, Another thing I would like to say about trusting God is that we really need to understand timings in life. See, God is things in order. So when we go back to Genesis and we go back to creation, we can see that he didn't just mumble everything, just do everything on day one. He just did no. On day one, he did specific pulls. Even in life, there's principles that he's laid for us. There's seed time and harvest. There's inputs and then there's outputs. There's systems to things in life. So sometimes when you're trusting God for things, it might just be that it's not yet the right time. And we also need to understand that it's very dangerous for you to have something outside of the right timing, because something that's supposed to be a blessing could actually end up being the worst thing that could have ever happened to you. And in this flesh and as human beings, sometimes we don't really get that. We don't really understand that. We don't understand that what we see as a blessing can actually be the worst thing to happen to us. So we need to understand this timing. So if you're trusting God for something, trusting God for a child, trusting God for a house, trusting God for whatever it is, understand that it might just not be the right time yet. There's one thing that people always say about God, and it's so true, and it's that He's never late. He's always just on time. At the right time, everything will happen. And one encouragement I want to give you, if you're trusting God for a child or you're trusting God for anything else, is that, trust me, you want things in the perfect timings. You want to get things at the right time. If you get the right thing at the wrong time, it is wrong. If you get what you've been praying for at the wrong time, it will end up being a curse rather than a blessing. So that's why timing is so important. So when you're trusting God, understand timings, okay? The last thing I want to say about trusting God is that sometimes you actually need to come to a place where you just let it go. And I've been here. Everything that I'm sharing, I've been through it. I won't come on this channel and be talking about or sharing something that I've not been through. Sometimes you just have to let go. You know what's so funny about this thing is that sometimes, God is actually ready. It's the right time for you to have that thing, but God is waiting for you to let go, because He can see what you're doing. You're praying for something, but yet He can see that you are trying to make that thing happen in your own, like this. You're doing this, you're giving this, you're doing that. You're trying to make it happen in your own power, and God is waiting for you to exhaust yourself so that He can pick up. Because one thing I've realized in my walk with God is that when you get to the end of yourself, I feel like that's when He just picks up. That's when He's like, okay, fine, now I can, show myself. Because if He comes in and tries to save you while you're trying to save yourself, you give the glory to yourself. You say, yes, it's because I called this person. That's because that's why it happened. So sometimes you just have to come to the end of yourself. You just have to let go, truly let go. Not saying, oh God, I've let go, and then the next minute you're still trying to. If you're trusting God for something, you need to understand this thing of letting go. I've tried it and it has worked for me. I've got to the point where I'm like, okay, God, help me do this, help me this. And straight after the prayer, I've gone to go and help myself. And I'll just be like, why is it not happening? It's like He just keeps closing the doors, closing, until I say things like, you know what, I'm just tired, Lord. I leave it up to you. Whatever happens. And He's like, yes, I've been waiting for you to say that. And in that moment, He just decides that I'm going to step into the situation and I'm going to turn it around. So that's the tip I have for anyone out there. If you're trusting God for something, no matter what it is, you can still use all these tips. If you watch it to this very last part, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you, and I truly pray that God answers your prayer. And so until next time, please continue to stay safe. Wear your facial mask when you're outside, wash your hands, sanitize, all that good stuff. Keep your environment clean, and God will continue to keep helping us all.